The devil's advocates whisper in the hall, where justice wears a mask and truth begins to fall. Every thread they pull, every lie they weave, in the courtroom's dance, who's left to believe? Oh, the devil's in the details, hiding in plain sight, innocent until the gavel steals the light. True crime echoes through the hollow night, fighting injustice with no end. The devil's in the details, hiding in plain sight, innocent until the gavel steals the light. True crime echoes through the hollow night, fighting injustice with no end in sight. A photograph fades where the truth once stood. Blurred lines between the bad and the good. The scales they tilt with every silver tongue, while the broken cry for a song unsung. Black robes sway like shadows on the wall. One wrong word and the mighty fall. Who's a sinner? Who's a saint? The jury's out, but the verdict's faint. Oh, the devil's in the details, hiding in plain sight, innocent until the gavel steals the light. True crime echoes through the hollow night, fighting injustice with no end. The devil's in the details, hiding in plain sight, innocent until the gavel steals the light. True crime echoes through the hollow night, fighting injustice with no end in sight.
All right. Hey, welcome into another Crimes After Dark show. I meant to get a little banner on the screen a little earlier that we have our guests on. I want to make sure that other YouTubers that are streaming with us and co-streaming, people know early what the hell's going on. Why does this say Devil's Advocates when we're watching somebody else's channel? So welcome to the Meatballs and Dago's crew over there, and to our denizens on our sides. We call them the den. We call them the denizens as kind of a short, cool, catchy little thing. We've got a great vibe going. We've got a lot of stuff going on. People are making media rounds. We're going to talk about that. We're going to do it respectfully, of course. We're going to do it respectfully. But we're going to talk about a video I put out this morning talking about a Megyn Kelly interview with Howard Bloom, and how now it's okay to talk about all those questions. Like, she literally said, wow, I never thought about, we should have asked some of these questions. Like, yeah, you probably should have asked these questions 3 years ago. That would have been great if the media had actually asked questions in this case, instead of just rolling over and playing lapdogs to the prosecution and law enforcement, which all too often mainstream media does now, because they want to curry favor with law enforcement and they want to stay in their good graces. So they just go with whatever the story is. That way they keep getting the scoop for the nightly news and they don't rock the boat. Would have been nice if we had some investigative journalism. Anyways, let's get our crew together on panel as quickly as possible. Dago is backstage first. How you doing tonight? You're muted, I see, but you'll get yourself unsequestered.
Forget about it.
You sound like you've been run over by a truck.
I was in my sleep, and they drugged me back in and threw me back in bed, and acted like it didn't happen, because that's how I woke up. Yeah,
dude, I feel horrible you even being here. I tried to like twist your arm to be like, dude, go lay down in bed, man. Go lay down in bed.
I gotta do what I gotta do. What I gotta do.
Well,
otherwise, it's better than sleeping my life away. So.
Yeah, and you live stream today as well. You're a warrior. You're gonna crash hard tonight. Maybe that's a good thing. You'll get.
I hope.
Crash, but.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, and I was real quick before we bring the others up, I was telling you backstage, like I recorded a video last night for hours and then didn't actually turn on the sound and had to re-record the whole thing. And I didn't go to bed until 8:30 this morning, and it just crashed. And now my sleep schedule is all completely screwed.
Yeah.
So I'm not sick like you, and I'd rather just be messing with some sleep deprivation than be in your
You'll be up all night now.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, my hours are all over the place.
Yeah.
Anyways, good to have you. Always good to have you.
Thank you. Thank you. It's
We
great
will
to
be
be here.
having a JJ State of the Deep should be coming on as well. Our kind of newest person that's going to be coming with us, Logan. She might not. I don't think she's going to make it tonight, but she will be coming on with us more often. I know a lot of you liked when we had Logan from Bronx Tales on True Crime on here, and that was great. That was a great experience, and I think everything was hunky dory. And I think you guys are looking forward to hearing her more,
Yes.
as we are, to kind of get to know her expertise. That's what's really cool about our panel. And I need to get our panelists up here, but really cool about our panel is we have all these kind of diverse backgrounds that we can lend to true crime, which is a special thing about our show. All right, let's bring Robin on stage. Robin, how are you?
Hello, I'm well. I'm so sorry you're not doing so swift there, Dago. And poor boss man, he was up till all hours, and you guys are having it rough here. I hope things are gonna turn around there for you both. But
thank you.
I'm fired up, man. It's been a day.
Yes, it has.
With all that's been going on today. So, but good to be here with everyone as always, and all the Blue crew and the denizens and everybody. So yeah, excited to be here as always.
Yeah, and we are excited as well. It's normally, by the way, for those who don't know, normally I would be going with Birdie every other week. Birdie and I have been going. Well, when we first started out, Birdie Bombshells and I went every single Monday together, and then we kind of moved it to every other Monday because we didn't want to force content. And then I think Birdie had a full plate today and other things going on, so he went solo today. So I wasn't actually expecting to do this group. I thought it was going to be. I was going to come on later, I think afterwards or something, but I can't. We don't usually do it on Monday at all when I'm with Birdie. But I called the crew together and said, "Hey, last minute cancellation. I'm open." So here we are. Welcome everybody to the chat. By the way, I appreciate it. We're gonna get one up here in a second and say hi to him. I'm just looking through the chat, making sure, but an active, chatty little chat today. Let's get one on screen. And JJ will be joining us pretty soon. But how you doing, 1-1?
Evening, denizens, meatballs. Dago, hope you're feeling better. We missed you yesterday, but we understand. Robin,
yeah,
thank you.
Hello,
Lee. Almost it has an amazing video today. You almost didn't see me anymore. I almost, drove off a bridge after. I don't want to give it away. You have to experience it for yourself. But what I will say, make sure you're grounded, maybe grounded with 2 feet before you watch this video. Don't do what I did.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. Sometimes I don't know, like I just get on a rant and I say shit that just flies out of my mouth. And I had a lot of people like, "Oh my God, what did you just say?" So I heard you. I made you spit out some coffee when you were driving to work or whatever. And
yeah, just a little bit. Yeah.
Well, hey, that's the thing that's funny. Like, I don't consider myself an entertainer, although I think that we're entertaining when we talk. I think we're entertaining, but I don't really consider us an entertainment show. But it's kind of funny when people say that they laugh so hard that they spit out their food or blew chunks out their nose or whatever the case may be. It's those great moments,
I think we have the ability to make it entertaining at times, but it's not an entertainment show, right?
Right. Like we have very, very heavy, serious topics and, but that doesn't mean you can't be entertaining while delivering, your thoughts and opinions, which we do really well. I think we do it really well. Before you get into your monologue, I see that we got JJ from State of the Deep on here. So let's bring him up and then we'll have you read us in if you got something for us tonight.
Yep.
JJ, what's up?
What's up, everybody? How you guys doing? What's up, Dan? Meatballs, mods. Good to be here.
Man, Dago's running rough right now. I don't know if you heard his voice, but he's suffering right now. So.
Hang in there, brother.
hang in.
I need a nice cup of some strong whiskey.
Oh, that sounds kind of good. Oh, that's not good. That's whiskey sounded good. It's like, wait, whiskey sounds good. That's not good. That's not good. Anyways. It's good to see everybody. We don't have an official topic tonight, but like I said, I have thoughts. I would like to talk about Brent Turvey. I know that not everybody saw Brent Turvey's little clip I played, but I'd like to talk about him now that I've seen him talk. Some of you had already seen him talk, and I had never seen him talk, and I was impressed at how articulate he was. I'll explain to people in a little bit who he is and what the gist of what he said was. We talked about the Megyn Kelly interview with Howard Bloom and some of her surprise, hey, maybe we should have thought of these questions a long time ago. Yeah, that would have been super sweet. Anyways, and then we'll talk about what things you guys have seen. Maybe we'll talk a little bit, other cases as well. Like everything I can think of that was as a topic, like Harsh and Pav trading blows over Kopaka. All those topics we can talk about is all Idaho 4. But there's other things in our lives besides Idaho 4. But anyways, one, why don't you read us in with a little monologue?
Sure. Jackson, hope you're feeling better. Love you. Juliana, my beautiful wife. Have a good night. Is it good to be alive in the den on a Monday night? Not the version of justice that fits neatly into headlines. Not the version that thrives on certainty. The other one, the uncomfortable one. Tonight, we step back into the shadows of Idaho, a place that will forever be remembered, not for what it was, but for what happened while the rest of the world slept. 4 students, 4 lives, a single house that became a symbol of horror, confusion, and unanswered questions. The Idaho 4 martyrs didn't just fracture a community, they ignited a story so fast, so loud, that silence itself became suspicious. And then came a name, Brian Koberger, a suspect turned spectacle, a face reduced to mugshots, a man spoken about as if the verdict had already been signed, sealed, and delivered, long before a courtroom ever heard the facts. And justice doesn't move at the speed of outrage, and truth doesn't arrive fully formed. It hides in timelines that don't quite align, in assumptions dressed up as evidence, in details dismissed because they don't fit the story we want to believe. Tonight, we're not here to tell you what to think. We're here to ask what wasn't asked, what was missed, what was rushed, what was quietly ignored while the narrative took over. Because when a case becomes a headline and a suspect becomes a conclusion, the real danger isn't doubt, it's certainty. It's about slowing down, listening carefully, and refusing to confuse repetition with truth. In the dark, details matter. In silence, answers speak. We are devil's advocates, and tonight we question everything. With that, live from New York, it's Monday night.
Well, I think more than just tonight, we question everything. We question everything every freaking night. But yes, thank you so much for that. I saw somebody said to say hi to Robin. Some grandma says, my grandmother's a huge fan or something like that. Like, do you see that, Robin? I pinned it up there and screamed.
Yes, I did. I was saying hello back. That's awesome. Hello to you and to your lovely grandma.
So cool. So cool. All right, look, guys, I don't have a forced script. So I JJ was like, hey, can we just talk about some random shit tonight? Do you have something on your mind, JJ, when you were asking that? Or you just want to be like, just kind of spitball some shit around?
No, but it's good to blow out the cobwebs every once in a while and get the free flow going, Yeah. I think we all have enough angles and opinions and things to juice it up. I wasn't referring to anything specific. I watched your video today, and I was the whole time I'm just shaking my head because what have we been saying all along?
Yeah.
Like just recently we talked about Bloom's book, and I was like, when I read the book, I was like, the guy's a hack. He created a fiction story, and now he's backpedaling.
However, you're right. I agree, but there is a but in there.
A big but.
I do have to agree with Pav, and with Lee also addressed it too. I do agree. Like, it's kind of nonsense. Like, this guy became the quintessential expert on what happened in Idaho and his 100 whatever interviews, and he knows everything. And all of a sudden, well, he says that the river is parting. So now this is what happened. But we do need the help. If we can get the help of and a start, whatever the motive, even though, it's like, oh, is this guy, he just wants to write another book, or this is what really happened, or whatever. Even so, better off to have an ally, right, than an enemy. So if he,
I mean,
if he could push,
I agree.
I know what you're saying. I agree. I know he, you might, well, he doesn't have, his reasoning isn't, well-hearted or whatever, but we have to use what we can get. And if he's willing to backpedal on some stuff, and Megyn Kelly's going to put it out there, maybe it's a start, though. You got to
I know
people don't like
different feeling.
I agree with that. I agree with the sentiment of that. I do. But I will say this. I got to quote Estes Crime Maze. I have to do it. You got to tell the truth at the right time.
At the right time.
And
yes.
So creating a fictitious story where you're talking about literally the thoughts going through Brian Koberger's head as he drove around and decided what he was going to do. You spin this whole yarn and don't do anything to approach it in a journalistic way, because that was not journalism.
Right.
So I do agree that it's vindication for all of us that have been saying this for years, that the story is the official story is horseshit. But he's basically doing damage control because
I know
because his book
he's definitely
I'll tell you the other thing about that. Okay, this man that wrote this book, before this book even hit the shelves, it was an instant bestseller. So you want to talk about grifting and making money off of people's death and their suffering, the suffering of the families? He made it before that book even. But when it was greenlit by the editors of the publishing house, and then even before it hit and was actually officially for sale in pre-launch, this thing was making him money hand over fist. So when that happened, in my eyes, and I'll be careful, but he became one of the biggest grifters out there, and he's still doing it. So I have big problems with that.
Yeah.
Thanks to Megyn Kelly. Megyn Kelly boosted the pre-sale of his book massively.
Yeah, she did.
So I'm sorry, I don't consider him an ally, nor will I. So sorry.
I know, I get it, but I understand, and I agree. He is doing damage control. I don't disagree with that at all.
They all are.
Again, we have to use what we can get. And if Megyn Kelly, if they're starting to push something, we need a lot more than that. But maybe from that, it can open the dialogue with someone else. That's all. That's all I'm saying. I agree with you. I don't think that this guy, he wholeheartedly really cares about Idaho 4. This is all about his book and damage control. I get it. I'm just saying, it's better than nothing. At least it's something,
Yeah. Well, and I guess, my point, and I think maybe Pavarotti's point as well is that I agree. Those who are kind of slowly reshaping the narrative and saying, maybe we should have asked more questions, are kind of doing damage control. I agree with that. But like you said, the positive thing is us bitching about it for 3 years hasn't fundamentally done a whole lot. Maybe we have. I don't know. I mean, we are getting FOIA requests and we are seeing stuff and we are pushing an error. But it's like they just blow us off as irrelevant. You know, oh, they're YouTubers. You know, they're not real news. They're not, you know. So when the quote unquote real news starts talking about it, then the brain dead out there start to go, oh, wait a minute, they're talking about that on real news stations. It's not just this idiot on YouTube, because that's the way some people perceive us. And again, the brain dead people who are trained that if they didn't get it from mainstream media, then it's not true. Now they get the validation that, oh, maybe it's okay to ask those questions because mainstream media is doing it and my favorite talking head's doing it. So maybe it's okay for me now that I have permission to talk about it.
Well, my biggest concern though, and my last thing on that, my biggest concern is the mainstream media is going to do what they always do. They're going to take this and they're going to spin it and they're going to lead everybody down a path. So people think, oh man, look, they're coming around, and then they're going to steer it right back to the official narrative. That's my opinion.
Well,
I'm going to make that prediction.
They are. Well, she's already, I mean, Megyn Kelly is kind of already doing that because she's not saying, oh, maybe we should just look at all this stuff. Maybe BK, you know, maybe Kohlberger is not. Maybe he's not guilty. She's not saying that at all. She's just kind of going along, well, yeah, he did it, but maybe there is someone else involved.
Give it time.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
I called. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, I kind of called some of this last week when this first dropped with Bloom, and I said, just wait.
Yeah.
I said, just watch. I said, and here it comes. And I knew the Gonzalez family, they were going to come out and get their whole tour going again. Because this is what they do. I mean, this is absolute damage control, and I'll be honest, and I know people disagree with me, and that's quite okay. You could probably hit me in the face with a baseball right now. I wouldn't care much about anything. I'm going to tell you, I think they're nervous about something, and I could read it through the entire interview. Honestly and truly, that's my take on this.
They are definitely. They're trying to the same thing. They're trying to do. Be clear. You know, we're respectful on this show, on this channel, and
of course,
you know,
I mean that with all respect,
you know,
always.
and I feel I obviously, you know, my job is public safety, and you know, half my life has been helping people. I couldn't even imagine losing a child in any aspect, let alone having a child murdered. So I do feel the deepest sympathy with them. But I have to agree with Dago. Like this also feels like kind of a damage controlling the narrative, so that you know there is a $400 or $500 million lawsuit going on right now, and that's what it was. I can't see how you can look at these documents and look at this stuff coming out and double, triple down and say, no, Kohlberger, no, he's the sole guy. He did it. It's only him. I mean, you don't have to be a brainiac to just look at, you know, look at Brent Turvey, and yes, he was a defense witness, but look at his explanation and how he's explaining that more than one person. Look at the timeline. Look at all these different things. So it's fine. You might not want to believe, and for myself, I don't fully believe yet that Kohlberger is completely innocent. I haven't seen evidence that completely exonerates him yet. I think similarly to Lee, that he's some kind of driver or still has some kind of involvement. Until, you know, maybe further info will come out, and I won't feel that. That's how I feel now. But to just triple down, double down, and be like, you know, no, you guys. I mean, basically calling us trailer park. You saw the video, Dago, right? We were called trailer park. We're just selling pictures, making money on things. Leave it for the experts. What the hell are you talking about? We look at the autopsy. Wait, what's that? We look at the autopsy report, and the what the hell's her name? I don't know, whatever her name. Sutton. Look at the autopsy report that came out. She was saying that Maddie's blood or whatever, that it wasn't even Kaylee's blood on the table. I mean, people can make mistakes, but we're being told, no, they're the experts. We know nothing. We know shit.
Speaking of mistakes, I'm glad you said that word, because that was brought up tonight not tonight, I did it earlier, but in that interview where she finally said, well, I don't know. I guess the police could make mistakes, and maybe I don't know, guys, because I didn't read all the documents.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Maybe if you had.
So why?
Thank you for saying that. Finally,
for all respect for the family, I understand there's more.
Yes,
but to come out and blast everyone else and then say, well, I don't know, I haven't read the documents, but yet you have the nerve to tell everybody that we're a bunch of losers sitting in mom's basement doing a YouTube.
We're not real reporters.
For family. We're not real reporters, and to trash everybody while we have read the documents. Like, we actually have read the documents.
Oh, and there's so much more evidence.
Well, I'm not sure I haven't read the documents.
How do you know there's so much more evidence if you haven't read the fucking documents?
Yeah, it is hard. It's hard to go.
And I mean that with all due respect, mind you.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Sorry.
Right. And so it's hard because I've been telling my team the same thing. Like, I don't know, like, there's a part of me that believes in giving people grace when they're hurt and they're upset. They're going to say things they don't mean. And I can be a bigger man and say, look, I can take that. If you want to call me a piece of shit because you're angry and you need somebody to lash out with, I can take that. But by the same token, at some point it gets old. It gets old being treated like I have the worst intentions in the world. All I want to do is hurt your family when I have no intentions to do that. I'm trying to get answers. And that's where it becomes hard. It's like, I'm trying to give you grace to say a few shitty things, but continually attacking our integrity, acting like we're a bunch of shithole, insensitive people making money when we're making a lot less money than
the person you're telling this to, the person you're sitting there telling this, every time they say this and make this statement, they're on a fucking panel with somebody that's making millions of dollars doing it. So,
and they said a bunch of, what's crazy is Christy, I loved how Christy said, she was like, people are attacking, I give them, I understand, like, they only got certain info at certain times. So she's like, oh, you're going to call, people calling us liars and this and that. There was only certain info that we had at certain times. And I believe that. I believe they didn't tell them everything. That is probably true. However, to like just come at us. So Steve went along with her, and he's like, and then Brian Etten jumping in on there, oh, well, you know what? They had him at the house. They had, they have the info. They know that he was at the house. They have time. No, they don't. And again, this is, we've talked about this like 1,000 times. Again, they bring up the damn phone. Oh, yeah. Christy, I think Christy said it. They kept saying so many different lies.
He turned their phone off.
He turned his phone off. He turned his phone off at 2:00. No, he didn't. He didn't turn his goddamn phone off.
They never said that in the PCA. They said it lost. It lost.
Exactly.
Yeah, it stopped accessing the phone. And they said it could have been that he turned it off. It could have been that he lost cell coverage.
Right. But they know that. And they know that he didn't turn his phone off. And that's what Lee explained very well. That's why they didn't say that he turned his phone off. They worded it in such a way that would make
they were very clever with the way they worded it.
Exactly. Because they know that his phone just disconnected from the tower. And again, JJ and Lee, they went there. They went to whatever, Wawa Park or that area. And they tried calling into a live, we had a show going on. And
it's
how many times
did
you guys disconnect?
Yeah.
Yeah.
With the interest.
One thing,
go ahead, Robin.
I've never lost a child in such a horrific manner, but I know that if I ever did, or something happened to one of my nieces or my nephew or whatever, I'd read every damn thing out there. I'd want to know every single thing, and I'd want everyone to see it because I would want someone out there to help me find the real truth of it. And I'm not saying they're supposed to do that. And my sympathy does go out to them, believe me. But we want the truth for those 4 young lives that were lost, and we want the truth for the families. And I just wish that they could really see that, but I don't know that they ever will.
No.
Yeah, what were you going to say, JJ? Because I've got a little rant I want to go on as well, or at least so you get your part out first before.
Yeah. Well, wasn't it Steve G that was screaming from the rafters about free speech because he was being silenced in the beginning of this case?
Absolutely.
And he was reaching out to online sleuthers and things like that in the beginning, and he didn't want to be silenced because they were trying to gag him in the beginning of the case because he was talking a lot on the media. So, as I've said before in other streams, they're just trying to protect their lawsuit. And if the narrative shifts too far away from Kohberger, it's over. That's the end of their lawsuit.
Yeah. Oh, and that's the thing, man. I don't want to say it because it sounds horrible, but I'll the best way I can say it diplomatically is you cannot ignore the fact that families that are joining a $500 million lawsuit stand to lose money if it turns out Brian Kohberger didn't do it alone, because that's the basis of their lawsuit. You didn't stop Brian Kohberger from doing this. And if it was something other than what they told you it was, that lawsuit's fucked. And so it's literally, it incentivizes people to be blinded to wanting to know the truth because there's too much money on the line. That's the best way I can say it. It could blind people who are honest people, but you get blinded by the fact that, well, shit, if it turns out we're wrong, we lose millions. So I mean, I don't know that that's a motivation or not, but you can't divorce yourself from that possibility. I want to point out another thing that I found. Megyn Kelly, by the way, while she was giving room for Bloom to ask new questions, it was clear she hasn't moved far off of the thing at all. And there was several, in my opinion, very funny moments. First of all, while she's having Bloom on there, who just wrote, by the way, in the article that she's talking about his article. And in his article, he literally says it could have been somebody else that had motive, and Kohberger was just trying to show off for a friend or something like that, as if it wasn't even Kohberger who had the motive to kill. And she comes and says, well, we know Kohberger did this. I mean, like, while entertaining a guest on your show who's saying he's questioning now what happened, she says, well, we know Kohberger did it. We know he did. And then at one point she says, when he says, well, I'm questioning the timeline, he came in the dark, and she's like, well, maybe he had a headlamp on. And it was funny because I swear to God, a producer said in her ear, you can't fucking say that. She goes, oh, well, to be clear, Dylan Mortensen never said he had a headlamp on. And I'm like, it was like somebody corrected, like, what the fuck did you just say? Like, you can't just make up shit on air. Like, well, maybe he had a headlamp on. So she clearly has decided he did it, period. So I'm willing to only go so far with you. If you want to talk about maybe he had a friend help clean up and he's still the guy who did all the killings, then maybe I'm okay with you. But we can't move away from he did all the killings fundamentally. And so I'm just not going to go too far.
That's the same thing Brian Hutton did, because he was reading the Turby stuff before he did the interview with Gonzalez. Yes. And as he's reading it, he's saying that about Brian, this and that, but we know Brian did it. Right. No, you don't. Stop saying stuff like that because you don't. Because
not only that,
never any proof shown. So you're lying once again, sir.
Another funny moment like that, and I think this was the last of the rant I was going to make about that. There was a moment when Bloom said something about Brian Kohberger having a girlfriend or whatever, and Megyn Kelly gets completely indignant. Oh, they would know if he had a girlfriend. They'd go through his phone and they would know. And he goes, actually, I met the girl that was kind of his girlfriend, and I talked to her and I interviewed her, and she just kind of shut down because she was just so they would know. He didn't have any friends. He didn't have any girl. And he's like, actually, she did. Like he did. Like, I met her and I interviewed her for my book, and she's just like shut down. Like, well, how am I going to fucking argue with that?
So then, and what's funny with Brian Etten, he's kind of like contradicting himself to an extent here, because he's like, Kohberger, he had this crazy murder porn on his phone, And again, with the stalking shit, oh, he was stalking the girls and all this stuff. But he's like, he knew he knew kind of how to cover his tracks and whatnot, because he's going for this master's degree and the special degree. But he's going for the special degree in criminology, but he's an idiot and turns his phone off before
takes his phone to the crime scene,
takes his car, uses his car to commit 4 murders. Like, listen to what you're saying, as you always say, Lee. Listen.
Yeah. Listen. You're not even using your brain.
I was going to ask that. I wonder if these people like ever actually hear what they're saying after they say this, because 9 out of 10 times it sounds so ridiculous. It really does.
Well, I've been saying for years, the media is not about reporting facts or about pushing narratives. And they don't give a shit about the truth.
No.
They couldn't care less about the truth. And the only reason, like I said, that they're even shifting at all, even as minimal as it was with Megyn Kelly, is because they're doing a little bit of damage control. They push this narrative so absolutely in lockstep, and now it's getting diverted slowly but surely away from that official narrative. So they have to at least acknowledge it, because the mainstream media, and believe me, Megyn Kelly may be online, but she's the mainstream media.
Right.
They just transferred her onto the internet. And so they're just shifting and their version of damage control.
And I don't know because I don't know because I've never worked for a media outlet, but I have to imagine. So look, let me try and put it in this perspective. I'm a small YouTube channel. I've got 4 or 5 cases I follow, and it's everything I can do to keep up with the legal documents and read the court documents and read the newspapers and read the latest comments that everybody's saying to kind of keep up on the case and read my chat and all the rumors. Like, it's a full-time job. I can tell you this. I think most of mainstream media are talking heads who are out with coffee with their friends and then put some makeup on and go sit at a desk and read a script. They're not studying the cases. So they're getting on there and they're talking like an authority. Well, we know this is what happened. You don't know shit. I bet you don't know the cases you're reporting on. You literally put some makeup on and sat down and read a script and acted because that's what they're paid for, to look authoritative. Well, we know that this happened. You don't know, dick. You just read a script. I doubt you even read any of the documents. Maybe they read some, but I guarantee you, like, I can't keep up with the case, and it's all I do. But they've got a whole bunch of things they report on. It's just one case. It's a little small case that they're covering. Out of all the things they're covering, you think that they're reading the documents at the levels that we are? They're not. But yet they're telling us
Megyn is not reading anything. I know for a fact how Megyn runs her show. She has producers and assistants. They dig up the information, they summarize it for her, and they hand it to her in one sheet. She probably looks through it before she goes online and she does her show. She does not do any of her own research, which is why she doesn't know anything about what's come out and all the inconsistencies, much like Brian Entin and all these other people. I guarantee you, Brian Entin is, kudos to him. He was boots on the ground. I'd give him credit for that. But he's got people doing his research for him. He's got assistants and PAs and interns doing any research, whatever they do. He's not digging past the headline, so to speak.
Right. The thing that's wacky though. Again, and I know, like we said, it's making sure that everything's okay with their lawsuit and controlling the narrative. I get all that, but I just can't imagine like not wanting everyone held responsible to get the fullest extent of the law. I mean, Christy was saying, like, talking about Kaylee being attacked and killed in the bedroom with Maddie. I'm like, the autopsy report that we have thus far, maybe Kaylee did take her final breath in the bedroom. We don't know. But we do know that she was attacked on the second floor. How is her blood all over the place? She definitely, and it matches somewhat, kind of to a version of what Dylan says, to a bit of Kaylee running up and down the stairs and whatever. But then you hear Christy and like, no, no, everything happened in the room. What I thought was interesting from that interview, Dago, I didn't get to see your show earlier, was when Steve said that how, if this is, I don't see why he would be lying, but if it's actually true, he said that they weren't told about the injuries to all the other victims. Like they were only, like even at the sentencing, they only were given like what the full injuries and stuff were to Kaylee. So they didn't know that Xana like fought for her life and had all these crazy things.
I don't know.
It's like a little nut.
It's kind of
That's what he said. That's what he claimed.
Yeah, and I remember that too. And I kind of remember thinking, well, okay. But if we all know about it, then there's got to be some aspect that you knew about it. So, I mean, I agree.
Yeah.
But
I just thought it was a little weird.
It is definitely. One thing they did say, though, that caught me off guard. I mean, I don't want to say it caught me off guard, but it proves a point, again, with all due respect. And it also bothers me at the same time. They referred to, it was towards the end, and they made a statement like, if this things aren't handled, so on and so forth. It's not exact words, guys. I can't remember my middle name right now, so bear with me. But if these things aren't dealt with, then what'll happen is it'll end up in a circumstance like, like they're doing in the Peterson case, where they're going to possibly reopen the case and think he could get off. So what you're saying, what I heard, so it could be wrong, but was that you don't care if it's the right person or not, as long as that person isn't let go that was initially convicted of this, whether they find new evidence or not. You don't want that to happen.
That's what he was
how
saying.
I took that.
Yeah. He did.
That's not at all how the, no, sorry.
Right.
Even Megyn Kelly, even Megyn Kelly said, if there was an accomplice, that means somebody that was involved with this may be walking free still on the streets. I'm like, yes, that's what we're saying.
Welcome to
like,
reality.
Shit. Like, what do you think we're complaining about?
Right.
Because even if Kohberger did it, even if you want to rest on the whole, well, he at least took part of it, so good enough. Is it good enough for you? What if there was 4 people that did it and 3 of them are still walking on the street today? That's okay with you? And what if those other 3 people are the one that killed your child, and it was Kohberger only killed somebody else's kid, not yours? Are you okay with they just got somebody for your kid's murder, or would you want the people who actually killed your kid to be held responsible? How do you get to the point where you don't care who goes down for it, just that somebody went down for it?
Like Lucy said, what she takes from that statement is what I'm trying to say. That they're totally fine with the state withholding evidence as long as somebody's punished. That's all that matters. We can't let this person go. That's like, okay. I see what you're trying to teach the world.
And then the question becomes, God, I don't even know if I want to ask it. The question becomes, it's okay as long as somebody goes down for it because of the psychological relief that you could feel some kind of closure because somebody somewhere paid, and it doesn't matter to you if it was the right guy or the whole story, but it feels somehow better to have some closure that somebody paid. Is that what it is? Or is it financially motivated that if it didn't happen the way you said it, then this lawsuit fails?
Bingo.
Right.
Bingo.
Yeah.
Bingo.
Yep.
Ding,
That's
ding, ding,
what
ding.
my money's on.
What it is.
Well, go ahead, one.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I'm just gonna say, you guys know my theory about Brian Kohberger. So just like I, have said in the past, there's a chance that the 2 surviving roommates were given a script and given marching orders. There's also that same chance that the Gonzalez family was given that same set of marching orders. If there was an operation involved, and I know this is a little bit off track from what a lot of people think, but if there was something being covered up, which I contend that there was, whether it be the school, whether it be the feds, then you can be sure that somebody was given marching orders, right? At the very least, somebody in the fold was given marching orders, like, this is the angle we're going with. So I try to, again, I'm playing devil's advocates with kind of some of the thoughts that I have had in the past. It's possible that the Gonzalez family was told, this is the script we're going with, and you don't divert from this script. And there's
you
know,
I mean, that's what Brent Turvey was saying on the interview that I watched and talked about. It was that oftentimes law enforcement sidles up with the family and says, look, the best thing you can do is shut your mouth. Don't talk to anybody. Let us do our job. We've got somebody for this. And it doesn't even matter whether, and they might even, at some level, they might even say, look, it doesn't matter if we got the right guy. Your family is going to get compensated for us putting somebody away. So it's in your best interest just to shut up. Let us get somebody, put them away. You can sue the fuck out of them, get lots of money. And in the end, it'll give you some kind of relief. Does it matter in the end that much? If it's the right guy, you're going to get a fuck ton of money. So why don't you just shut up and go along with the program? You have to ask if that gets done, if that ever gets done. And that's what a lot of kind of the things that Brent Turvey was suggesting he sees in law enforcement. And furthermore, and I know, JJ, you can appreciate this, having read a lot of Framed and stuff like that, like I have, and I read it because you recommended it. But the same thing he said, sometimes he himself, Brent Turvey said, I have seen where law enforcement will work with the murderer to frame somebody who didn't do it, because they don't want to jam up their confidential informant or whatever. Sometimes the murderer is their confidential informant and they don't want to jam up their confidential informant. And sometimes they'll work with the murderer to put somebody else away because they don't want to compromise their confidential informant. I mean, and they will literally arrest and harass family members if they go against the official narrative. That's a guy who works in this industry his whole life and has written 20 plus books on forensics, says that's reality. And if you don't live in that reality, then you're not a true professional, because that's how it works in this country.
Well, another thing that sort of goes along with what I believe is that if there was any connection, let's say, for example, WSU had a program like Utah State had with the CIA, the Center for Anticipatory Intelligence. Well, let's say that they were doing research at WSU and it was in conjunction with the feds. And if somebody is inserted into the mix, this whole lawsuit angle, again, I know I'm going a little off the rails here, but this whole lawsuit could be a dog and pony show, like so much else from this case was. So I am inclined to believe that anything that's going on with this case has a dog and pony show element to it, and I just can't shake that gut feeling.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I want to answer answer Blue-Eyed Candy's question. DA, do you think BK has some type of involvement? So it's personal opinion that you're asking for, and I'll give you my personal opinion. My gut tells me, yes, Bryan Kohberger has some kind of culpability in it. I think it's part of the reason why Bryan Kohberger accepted the plea deal in the first place, is that he knew he was fucked in some regard because they probably had something. That's my gut. Now, having said that, I can see an argument that every piece of evidence they have on him may not be correct. It may not be his car that went to the crime scene. He may have been going the opposite direction, just like he said. It may not be his DNA. That was junk science. Every part of it may fall apart. But there's a part of me that accepts the possibility that what could have happened was Kohberger literally was asked for his expertise in forensics on how would you get away with this? How would you clean up the crime scene? And maybe he was involved even as a periphery, just as an advisor. Like, I wouldn't do that, because that's the kind of thing Kohberger said. I'm not capable of this kind of thing. I wouldn't do this. And I can't wait to exonerate myself to prove that I'm not that kind of guy. But that doesn't mean that he's not the kind of guy that could think tank something and say, well, if it were me, I'd do this, this, and this. So there's a part of me that thinks that Kohberger had some potential culpability, but I can't prove it. Here's the thing: I can't prove it, and I certainly wouldn't put him away for life in jail on a gut feeling. But So
according to Brian Enton, his car, it's Kohlberger's car that races away at 424, even though.
Did anybody else catch that statement that was made where, and I don't believe this is something they could have made up either at this point, where the court told them to stop emailing them, to leave them alone because they're creating a record.
No, but that sounds exactly like the thing.
I saw that.
Really? Really? That's quite interesting, you guys.
That sounds like Hitler.
So that was another interesting thing.
Yeah,
that was probably one part. That was probably one part of the of that Enton interview that I actually enjoyed. You probably did too, Dago. So you know how Steve G doesn't really hold back from what he wants to say. He just says whatever is on his mind. He doubled down, tripled down. He bashed the hell out of Hitler and Santa Claus. He went at them. He went at them like full throttle. He was like,
that's what I titled my live stream. Hitler, get out of the way. That's what he said.
Yeah, Hitler, get out of the way. Right.
Move, bitch. Get out the way.
Yeah.
I was going to tell you, I don't want to get the wording wrong. So I was thinking I was going to see if I could pull it up on screen or not, but I had after talking to Dago, I think primarily is when it came up the first time. Dago, I think, brought to my attention the idea that Kathy Mabbitt, the coroner, showed up at the crime scene and was told essentially to stay outside and wasn't allowed in until after Bill Thompson and others crawled to the crime scene, and she didn't go in until much later. And I think it was you or the panel discussion that night where someone says, well, we should request what their procedures say they're supposed to do. Is it common for the coroner to be told to stay outside for 5 hours or whatever? Because there would be a log that records when she actually entered the house. So, and so I went after with the public records fund that we have, I went after Latah County prosecutor Bill Thompson's office and said, hey, can you please provide for me your procedures for crime scene processing, at which order people are supposed to go at the crime scene? And their response to me was, we have no procedures to give you. There's no such procedures exist. So there's nothing we can give you.
It does exist.
So you literally tell me you don't have procedures for how you're supposed to handle it. They basically deferred to the police. If you want to know how crime scenes are handled, defer to the Moscow police. We at the prosecutor's office don't have procedures on how to handle a crime scene. Okay.
Because they knew exactly what you were going after. I read the whole thing, but
it is there. It's there.
Yeah, they know exactly what you were going after.
Right. And that's just it. They know what you're going after. So then they play games with the wording and like, well, we don't have those kind of records. And then you have to fight back and say, can you please explain to me how you don't have these records? And, can you look for this? You have to get the wording just right. And they know the game. They're career lawyers. Like Bill Thompson's been doing this for a career. He knows how to stymie and stonewall and block those requests. So they're never going to give you the information unless you get every single word right. So
he's got to be good at something because he ain't good at taking he ain't good in 30 plus years at taking these cases to trial. So there's that.
Yeah. And by the way, listen to this. I got to be careful in how I word this. The Mickey Steins case. So I plan on going and visiting there. And I asked around like, hey, is there anything what would be the most beneficial thing for me to do when I'm in town that I can do when I'm there physically that I can't do from, remotely? And I was informed that you can get a lot by walking in to the courthouse or the sheriff's department or the coroner's office and asking to talk to their public records clerk and say, hey, can I just see, I'm a member of the public, can I just see what records you have? And they'll often sit you down in a room with a box or boxes and say, yeah, have at it. You can't leave the room with it. And if you want photocopies, you have to pay for photocopies, but you can physically go through evidence. Now, here's the thing that I want to tell you as a matter of fuckery, that I don't believe I understand how this is legal. So I was told that Kentucky doesn't allow that kind of examination of their records by people outside of Kentucky. You have to be a Kentucky resident. So then I countered and said, hey, we know people in Kentucky. would somebody be willing to go with me to the courthouse, the coroner's office, and show their driver's license and say, hey, look, I'm a Kentucky resident. I have the right to see this. And I'll just say this. On the download, I've been told, one, people want to help me with that quest, but they're terrified to go in there because they've tried it before and they were told, we know what you're looking for. You can't have it. And I'm like, how the fuck is that the answer? We know what you're looking for. So no, we're not going to give it to you and don't come back. Like that's supposed to be illegal. That your own citizens or taxpayers funding that shit. And they come in and say, I want to see you see your books. And they like, I know what you're looking for. Get the fuck out of here.
Wow.
Like, how the fuck could they do that?
You should reach out to Thomas Massey.
Why is
He's
that?
a congressman from Kentucky, and he's very libertarian as far as that stuff goes. You should he's pretty, I mean, relatively accessible.
You think he's trustworthy though, Joe?
I think he's about the only trustworthy person in our whole government.
Okay.
In my opinion.
There you go.
I want to address go ahead and finish your thoughts. I want to address
I was gonna say, like,
end.
I'm a nobody, and he's responded on occasion to, I've commented on some of his posts, and not often, but he's responded to me once or twice. So he's more accessible than anybody I've ever seen to the public.
All right. Well, we will reach out to Massey because that sounds like a really good idea. I want to say, like, Blue-Eyed Candy, you may have heard me say, and thank you for the donation, by the way, as well. You may have heard me say this before, but I have often said that I kind of understand. I feel like I understand Steve Gonzalez's responses on camera to some extent, because I think you're right. Here's what I think, and I think it goes along exactly with the interview that I showed a clip of today with Brent Turvey, which is that law enforcement came to Steve and said something. I'm going to tell you what I think happened, not Howard Bloom, where this is exactly what happened. I'm going to tell you what I think happened. I'm going to let you know it's just a thought. I think what happened is that someone came to Steve and said, look, we've got the guy. We know who it is. And the best thing you can do is shut your mouth. And at some point, Steve did that for a while. But then he realized, wait a minute. You guys aren't asking this question. You aren't asking this question. You've ruled out people that I think might have done it. You've ruled them out too quickly. And so he hired his own private investigator and started to dig into it and had the attitude of, I won't be silenced about my own child's death. I'll go fucking get the answers, and I'm not going to be told I can't do it. By the way, the victims' families have the right. You are not supposed to gag order the family. The family has the right to talk about it all fucking day long if they want to. Yet Hitler told the families to shut the fuck up. The prosecution told the families to shut the fuck up. They threatened the families if they continued to talk, and that's their right to talk as families of the victims. But they were, and for a while, I feel they went along with it. They trusted the system. I think most of the families, to be honest with you, I think my gut tells me most of the families trusted the system. Somebody got to the families and said, look, if you want justice in this case, you're just going to have to trust us. We know who did it. We've got the guy. We can't share information. Just stay out of the public eye, keep your head low, and don't answer questions. And most of the families did that. Steve wasn't that kind of guy. Steve, and again, this is why I said I resonate with Steve, because if it was my daughter, I wouldn't just fucking sit there and say, oh, I'm just going to just wait for you guys to tell me the answer. That's not my style. I'm not going to sit around and let you tell me the answer. So I think he's kind of that guy. And I think that explains some of his behavior. Okay.
Well, Hitler even said that. Hitler basically said that to him, Lee, when he said, you need to stop talking to the media. And he said, I don't think I can do that. And he said, well, do you think it's going to bring her back, Steve? And he was like, no. He goes, but, I don't believe this, that, or anything else. And he goes, well, then there's not going to be a trial.
We won't have a trial. Yeah. And I'm like, we won't even have a trial.
Here we are.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Wow. Very interesting.
So, Lee, I thought it was interesting, too, from your your video that you showed with Turvey, where he was basically talking about crime scene stuff and how he said that this is like a good revelation to maybe people don't know. Some might, but not. Things are not like what you see on TV, like CSI and some of these crime shows. So it's very interesting revelation where he said that only about 25% of an actual crime scene is really like recorded or taken. And then from that 25%, they really, the court really only winds up using about 5%. And then out of that, stuff is argued, thrown out. And then, Lee, you made, as we know, you made a great, great rant and point how, the jury, there's a lot of the case that they don't even, the evidence, a lot of stuff they don't even get to see.
Yeah. And yeah, exactly. I mean, I want to get back to Brent Kopak. I see that pinned on screen. Maybe leave it for a second longer. But yeah, that was a big thing. Like I've said that before all the time. What the juries actually see is not all the facts in the case. In fact, most of the facts get tossed out. They get to see very, very little. A classic example I've given many times is a woman who was on trial for shooting and killing her husband because she claimed he came home in the middle of the night and she thought it was a burglar. And so she shot him when he came in the house because she thought it was a burglar and shot him by mistake. What they weren't allowed to tell the jury is that she had done that to her previous husband. The same exact fucking scenario. Shot her first husband the same way. And somebody convinced the judge that it would be prejudicial to the jury to hear that she's done this before to somebody because, well, that's an independent thing. She had her trial for that. That was an independent thing. This jury shouldn't know that and consider that. And you would think any person in their logical mind would say, we'd probably want to know that was a previous thing that had happened as part of this sniff test for whether or not this is, but no, it's not. And that happens with so much. They decide what you're going to hear and you don't get to hear all the facts. You get to hear very, very limited number of facts. So
and I think go ahead. No, go ahead. And I was just going to say along that lines with the evidence and stuff. What's so wacky with the Kohlberger case is the fact that they didn't do a preliminary hearing, that they went right to the grand jury, which is because grand jury there is no argument of what's being thrown out. That's what the preliminary hearing is. So it's really that really makes you think that there's some bigger forces, at play here.
At a grand jury instead of a preliminary hearing, the defense doesn't even get to be there. They don't even get to present any arguments. It's all the prosecution, one-sided prosecution saying this is what we got on them, and they can indict a ham sandwich.
They shouldn't be able to do that. That shouldn't even exist as far as I'm concerned.
For me, one of the judicial reforms we need in this country is to do away with grand jury system or completely reform that system. It's completely bogus, in my opinion. But real quick on Brent Kopacka's situation. Look, Brent Kopacka is one of those enigmas in this crime. I will tell you this. Regardless of whether you feel or I feel Brent Kopacka did or didn't do it, because I'm not even saying I think Brent Kopacka did it or had something to do with it. Regardless of how you feel about whether he did or didn't, I think it's pretty clear that law enforcement thought he could have been involved in it. They had received tips about him possibly being, and that's the key. Whether you think Brent actually did it or not, I think he was on law enforcement's radar. They had received tips about it.
Yeah.
And he was a person of interest. And that's the big thing. Then his death becomes a real question. Did they think he was the killer? Did they kill him because they thought he was the killer? Did something go and was he paranoid because they were up his ass all the time about killing the kids in Idaho and suspected him for it and we're going to make him go down? And did he flip out because he's tired of their shit? Because it was obviously whether he did it or not, if they thought he did or was involved, that's a huge deal. So.
They had to think that for a reason. They didn't think that just for no reason. So
he was a person of interest, and I know there's a little banter going on with our chat. Other true crime other podcasters. There's a little riff going on. So Pav basically he showed the tip that's in the file. The initials are BK, and they're not talking about Brian Kohlberger.
We showed it the other night for Kohlberger.
If you read the tip, they're talking about the guy. It was called in.
His apartment had been dispainted.
Right. Right. That doesn't mean he did the crime, but he was a person of interest. And why are they hiding it? Now, somehow, I don't know, because Pav is explaining time in advance and he's going through this whole thing, and someone's giving some info to Harsh Reality that Pav said that, you know, oh, this other number that you can get from the documents, that this other, you know, number that was hidden. You can actually get the full number, and you can look it up, and it goes to Showalter's mom, or so. That's what he's saying. But if you watch Pov's video, how he explains it, he doesn't say that this phone number. He doesn't say 100%. Oh, they definitely had Brian Kopacka's timing advance records. It's not what he says. If you listen, like Lee keeps saying, you gotta listen. What he says is he goes through the little bit that we have from Cy Ray. We don't have all the info from Cy Ray, but the little that we do have from what's been released, it explains that they got 3,800 timing advance records from people. Within that, they did get Maddie and Xana are specifically listed. But along with Maddie and Xana, there's 3,800 people. Was Brent Kopacka in that?
And potentially another person of interest that wasn't
right. We don't know. We don't know. We don't know 100%. We need further info. But I know exactly what Pov was saying, and at nowhere did Pov say, no, this is definitely Brent Kopacka. What he did say in that tip that we cover, that we put on here, that we showed, I believe that name is Brent Kopacka. You know,
by the way, two things that I brought up in the video today, and here I was like, we could talk about other cases and we're fucking all night long on Idaho 4. What a surprise. But two things that I tried to dovetail, I may not have done it very good in my video. It was a very long video today. Was a moment when, and Megan Kelly acted like she was surprised by this, that there was other male DNA on the knife sheath. There was blood of another male DNA, and it wasn't anybody in the house. It wasn't any of the alternate suspects. And thank God Bloom did this. Let me be clear. It wasn't Brian Koberger either. I've told people over and over again that you don't understand. What they're not telling you is it's also not Brian Koberger. Believe me, if it was Brian Koberger, they would have told you it was Brian Koberger's blood on the knife sheath. It wasn't Brian Koberger's thing. So he tells her, not only was it not, you know, somebody else in the house, but it wasn't Brian Koberger's either. And she's like, oh, that's really weird. Like, and I'm like, yeah, wouldn't that have been a great question to follow up on? And then here's the asinine part. And this is the part that I tried to explain. They didn't test unknown male B on the banister going down to the first floor, or the bloody glove in the parking lot, because he said it was too far away from the crime. Again, because we already know the killer went out the back door and didn't go down the first floor and out the front door. Those things can't be related to the crime, so there was no reason to test it. And yet, even Howard Bloom said, wouldn't it have been just common knowledge or common logic that if you have unknown blood right underneath Maddie Mogan's body and the knife sheath, that you would test that blood to the blood on the banister, to the blood on the bloody glove, to see if they match? Like, why wouldn't that, like, if you want to argue that the blood on the banister and the glove is too far from the crime scene, well, the fucking knife sheath underneath Maddie's body certain isn't fucking far enough away from the crime scene. It's on the crime scene. So how do you not test that? Like,
right.
I mean, I don't know. And
the other, another thing too, you know, we've brought up a few times again with the timing advance with this 3,800 people that were tested. This came up in the hearing with Hippler. The prosecution was not able to. Don't you think if they definitively 100% had timing advance of BK and they know that he was at the house, you don't think that they would use it? That would go right along. That would be like they could basically, you know, exclusively like pinpoint almost exactly to where he was. But guess what happened? They weren't able to do it because what they needed, what they basically were going to have to do was they were going to have to use a third. It's in the evidence that we have. He was going to have to use a third tower. He was going to have to allow them to use a third cell phone tower. And if they wound up using that third cell phone tower, Hippler said, "Oh, well, then I'm going to have to allow a Frank's hearing." And they didn't want, and he wasn't going to allow that.
And Hippler wanted no part of a Frank's hearing. The whole part of a Frank's hearing is to question whether or not they really had probable cause to go arrest somebody in the first place. And look, let me reiterate another thing that I say, and it can't be, and me, in my opinion, can't be said enough. If Brian Koberger, think about this. if Brian Koberger's DNA was on the knife sheath, as they've told you over and over again, and that knife sheath was inside the house under a body of the victim, then they could say at court, we can place Brian Koberger at the crime scene because his DNA is there. But what did Bill Thompson say when Hitler said, I want you to tell Brian Koberger what you would have presented at trial? And Bill Thompson said, we can't place Brian Koberger in the house. The best we can do is we can place Brian Koberger near the house. He literally said that. And I feel like everybody in America dismissed it. If the DNA was in the house, he would have been able to say, we can place Brian Koberger in the house because his DNA is there. But he literally told you, we can't place Brian Koberger in the house because, and everyone in America seemed to miss this too, they never intended to use the DNA at trial. They knew it was a problem, and they said to Ann Taylor, don't worry, we don't have to show you how we got the DNA because we don't intend to use the DNA. We've got enough circumstantial evidence. So America convicted Brian Koberger because his DNA was in the house, and they never intended to make that argument. They would have said, I can place him at the house because his DNA is there. They didn't. That's why they said they can't place him in the house. They were never going to use the DNA. And yet America and the world, to a large extent, convicted Brian Koberger because his DNA was at the scene. And it wasn't. They weren't going to use it.
And they weren't going to be able to use his timing advance. They weren't going to be able to use the timing advance to place him at the house either. And the defense, whether Cy Ray or they'd have to use someone else, they were going to explain where he went, that he wasn't there, that just using the two towers, you just have a relative area. So apparently, like they have this evidence, they know. So this came up too in the interview with Enton, where they were like, oh, he was stalking the girls, and he went 20 something times, and he went, well, they know that he went to the ATM. How hard is it to get ATM records? They know he went to the ATM over
and again,
and that touches the tower.
Right, as Mama J said, the fuckery is this. The wording they used was very clever. His cell phone utilized a tower that provides service to the house at 1122 King Road residents, which basically says, Dick, thousands and thousands of people utilize the cell tower that services the house at 1122 King Road. So therefore, by that logic, thousands and thousands of people are suspects in this case. And I'll guarantee you, thousands and thousands of people were visiting that, or utilizing that tower far more often than Koberger, because anybody who lived in the neighborhood or the town would utilize that tower more often than him. So the entire logic was just a colossal fuckery on everyone by using wording that convinced you, 22 times he used the tower that services the house. That means dick. It never meant anything. But I'm going to blow a blood vessel.
But Cy Ray is a conspiracy theorist. Right. But only the dude that wrote the program and made the whatever, instructed how many hundreds of FBI agents on how to use the equipment for the cast reports and everything. But he's a conspiracy theorist.
Well, that's why they didn't use the third. That's why they didn't use anything from the third tower, because
and it drives me nuts.
The defense would have been able to. They would have had to use someone else besides Cy Ray, I guess, because Hitler wouldn't allow it. But then he would have been forced to do the Franks hearing, and it would have been a problem because he said, "What did Thompson say?" Like what Lee just said. They can't place Koberger at the house. They needed,
and not only that, but the prosecution emphatically said there are no signs that Brian Koberger was stalking the girls, and yet in the WSU lawsuit again comes the wording Brian Koberger was stalking the girls. It was known that Brian Koberger was stalking the girls, and yet the prosecution flat out said there is no evidence Koberger was stalking the girls. Like, how are these horrible rumors still circulating and making it into the lawsuit? Well, we know that he was stalking the girls when the prosecution itself said, and how about the new one? Bill Thompson said very, very clearly. I remember how weird it was that he kept saying, I want to make it one. I can't remember his exact wording, but it was something very emphatic. I want to make it abundantly clear. There is no sexual motivation that we have found in this crime. And now people are going on saying, now we have reason to believe it was sexually motivated. Really? Because the lead prosecutor told you, I want to make it abundantly clear there's no sexual motivation in the crime. But now here we are again, back to the fucking sexual motivation. Oh, he's an incel and he wanted to rape Maddie. And that's what, we can't get away with the lie stories. Even when the prosecution tells you we can't place Koberger in the house and we weren't going to use his DNA, people say, they had his DNA in the house. When they tell you he wasn't stalking the girls, a lawsuit comes out saying he was stalking the girls. When they tell, everything that the prosecution told you isn't true, you still say. It's insane.
Oh, yeah.
Do you guys,
because they're allowing it, nobody's shutting it down.
Right.
Koberger applied for an internship at MPD, correct?
Yes.
Pullman. I think it was Pullman.
Well, apparently he went. Payne knows him.
I thought it was the Pullman Police Department that he applied
right?
for.
I thought didn't
Yeah,
we have
it was
something
I
that
heard-
said Payne knew him.
I heard he applied at both, but I'm probably wrong.
I
Maybe.
thought I remembered that he had done that. Now, we know that there was this program going on at the school where they were keeping an eye on fraternity life, right?
Yeah.
Now we were, let's just hypothesize. Let's say he did apply for an internship at MPD, right? There are two ways that this could go if that's true. One is they knew of him through that interaction from him applying for that internship, right? So they were already aware of this guy, or some people were. The second part of that is maybe he was working for them, and as part of that, they brought in a criminology student to work in some capacity as an intern. Now they're not going to tell that to the public with all this shit that's going on. So what if he was around that house at different times in that area because he was working in some capacity on behalf of MPD? Or I don't know what the Fed's involvement was with that program that MPD had with the local PD. We can speculate on that. If they had some backdoor connection to it, because oftentimes there are connections that are just once or twice removed.
Or it could be like a joint task force.
Right.
Too,
and maybe he was in that area at different times. And again, I'm piggybacking off of that one theory that I have about him working for or with the feds. He could have been working as a sort of CI, so to speak. And as I've said before, he gets called up. Hey, look, this is your big chance. We need somebody to be inserted into this case for X, Y, and Z reasons.
Yeah.
And this is what it entails. But when this is all said and done, whatever that's going to end up being, we're going to find out in time if anything happens, anything changes. So I'm just thinking of connections in my head. I'm just thinking of potential connections.
No, yeah. I mean, those are all questions I think any researcher should form that hypothesis and then go pull the thread. Can we prove that he did this? And if he did, who did he meet with? And those hypotheses are good to run down and see if it holds weight, and then see if it can be ruled out. If it can't be ruled out, keep it at the back of your mind as a continual, what if it happened this way? Because look, that's a large part of where I am with Brent Kopacka. It's still on my radar because I can't rule it out. I've tried. I've been trying to rule it out and I can't rule it out. I would love to rule it out so I can stop having it in my brain because it keeps running around in my brain. But until I can rule it out and go, I now can put that to bed because here's the proof it could not have been that. I would love to get that. I'm looking for that. The proof that I can let that go because it's impossible, but I can't. It's not not there yet. I had a point a minute ago and now I was going to tell you, do you guys remember, I said a long time ago, I only said it a few times, so none of you may remember me saying this, but I did say that I was frustrated because now that we have a plea deal from Koberger, they're going to start, they'll be able to say anything they want about this case. Once the plea deal is over, they can say whatever they want. So all those stories that they said weren't proven true will suddenly become what was true in the case for all along, because they can say so, because there'll be no trial. Nobody will be able to, I think JJ said, nobody's going to hold him accountable for telling the lies at this point because there's no trial to coming. And I didn't say it often, but I said this is what's going to happen as soon as he pleads guilty. The media is going to be able to have a heyday to tell you all the reasons why he really was a stalker and he really was an incel. And he really was sexually motivated and he really did do things they already said he didn't do because there's nobody to hold him accountable because there's no trial.
And you're gonna have a lifetime movie. You're gonna have a lifetime movie come out that's gonna, it's gonna show him like stalking the girls, and they're gonna make him like some crazy incel,
Real quick, Mama J. If you can get me this, people say this all the time to me, and I've watched interviews with Kopacka's so-called friends. I've seen interviews with Darren Duncan. I've seen interviews with his roommates. So I'm not sure which one this is, but Mama J, this is a comment that comes up a lot. This exact same wording to me. If you see this interview, it's going to change your mind. I don't know what that means. Change my mind, meaning Kopacka can't be involved because of whatever it is. If something's going to change my mind, I would like to see this interview because I keep having people say, if you saw this, it'll change your mind about Kopacka. But I don't even understand what that means. Meaning I'm going to be able to rule him out if I see this video because it's going to prove to me he couldn't have done it or what? Like, I don't know what that even means. So I would love to have it. Contact@devilsadvocates.info is my email address. So if you can send me a link to this interview, I'd love to see it because I can't tell you the number of times this keeps coming up. If you've seen that interview, you'll change your mind. But I don't even know what that means. So I'd love to. And that's not sarcasm. Like, I really want to see this because people keep telling me it's going to change my mind.
In what direction, Mama J?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say.
Is it going to make us think there's no way he could have been involved, or is it going to make us lean towards him being involved?
That's what I'm curious too. Like, I don't even know which direction it goes.
And I've said,
Dago, you're being brought up. Someone said you saw this.
I was wondering, Dago. Yeah, do you know what they're talking about? The December 20th video.
Is that the one with Duncan?
I don't know. Twizzle is saying Dago has seen it. Ask him.
Is that the one you're talking about? Is that with his best friend?
Because I saw the one with Darren Duncan on the
Duncan? If that's what you're talking about, yes, I've seen it. No. Okay, which one is it then? Thought Riot. Wait, are you talking about the one with at the hotel where they're
I've seen that one too.
Down and all that? I saw that one too.
Yep, I saw that one too. That's not the one I don't think either. Because that's not with his roommates.
Is there another one then that I missed?
I saw another one that was like,
Darren Duncan. I did cover the Darren Duncan one. Sorry, Joe.
Yeah, I've watched the Darren Duncan interview as well. I don't know what changed my mind about that. In fact, I came away with more reasons to suspect because Darren Duncan flat out said, I think they suspected that Brent Kopacka, my friend Brent, was involved and that they were overzealous to shoot. And when we got there, his room had no furniture and his phone was on the counter and it had been factory wiped. And we thought that was fucking weird. So
those are the things that I got from it too.
Those are some of the things that made me think, well, shit, if even his best friend thinks that they killed him because he was involved with or they thought he was involved with ID4, that says something.
But there's things in that interview, I think a lot of people are saying.
None of those, she said. Yeah, none of those.
Marty saying
so whatever this is, I haven't seen it.
Thought Riot is who everybody else is saying. Twiz said the one that I'm talking about. Marty Fodrell said Thought Riot, and I guess they have video too. Mama J said it's none of those, so it's probably the Thought Riot one they're talking about. That one I didn't see. That at least
I'd like to see it because of how many times people say it's going to change my mind. And here's the thing. I will be honest. If it does change my mind, I'll tell you. And if it doesn't, I'll be polite and tell you, sorry, I don't know what you guys saw, but it didn't change my mind about anything. I'll let you know how I feel, honestly. But
are you talking about his neighbors? Is that who you're talking about, Mama J? The one with the neighbors? For 2 months. Marty said she's been trying to get you to look at it for 2 months.
Well, send us, get us the link and we will.
I didn't think Thought Riot was still up on the internet.
Send it now, man. Let's go.
It's still up. I'll go look at it tomorrow. I have no problem with that.
I will guarantee you if we get this shortly. And look, here's the thing. I don't know if you guys realize this, and I'm sure Dago's probably the same way. the amount of incoming information I have is insane. I've got Discord channels that people are throwing hundreds of documents into my Discord channel almost daily, videos from every YouTube creator out there. You got to see what Pop just said. You got to see what so-and-so said. You got to see Birdie's latest video. You got, like, every day I'm inundated with information. I can't possibly keep up with the case. So there are going to be people out there who'll be like, I sent this to you 3 months ago. You're just ignoring it. I'm not ignoring them. I'm overloaded. I'm overloaded and overworked. Like, I'm trying. I don't even know how people do it. I don't know how they do it. I'm working my fucking ass off, and there's just not enough hours in the day.
They got our you got our attention now. So we
all right, here.
But now that you have you've got my curiosity.
All right, I'm gonna throw this. Hey, Lee, I'm throwing this in the back chat for you to grab, and then there's a bunch of shit of theirs that they did. You can go pull. I think I'll find out tomorrow which one they're talking about, but there's a few of them. But there's the link to the channel.
Okay.
And there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6 interviews, or like different videos that probably could be the one. So there you go.
Okay. All right. And to be fair, here's the thing, real quick about that. Here's the thing. I appreciate that, but and this is no busting your balls, Dago. But this is what people do to me. They'll send me a link and say it's one of those videos. I don't have time to go watch all this guy's videos.
That's what I'm gonna do. That's what I'm gonna do.
If you say to me, I need to see a video, help me see the video, not give me somebody's YouTube channel. I'm not busting your balls. I'm not busting your balls. I get that all the time. Here's the guy's video. Go find it. It's one of those videos.
I dropped the one I think it is right underneath that link.
She sent it. She sent it in Discord. I'll put it in the specific one that she's talking about.
Okay.
I'll grab it right. I'll put it in the private chat.
Put it in. Well,
okay. Because I grabbed the one that says, "How does this make sense?" Is that the one that it is? One.
It says audio police interview 12/20/22. Details on Kopaka's life.
I can't wait to see that. I really, honestly, I can't wait to see that. I will watch that probably tonight.
And I'm gonna go watch them tomorrow too, because now that because I don't think I saw one of their videos on him, but I don't think it was this one. So I will.
So real quick, thank you for the donation. Look into the 2006 case of Justin Geiger, sorry, probably Geiger, annihilating a house full of college kids, Adam Towler, in a town very similar to Moscow. This has happened before. Okay. So did you guys write that? I was going to go write that down somewhere and then you take it off screen, but
I put it. It's in the private chat. I put it in.
Okay. All right. If it's in the private chat, I will check that out.
I wrote it down too.
Okay. Of course, I need another case. Like I need a fucking hole in the head. But because these rabbit holes go down other rabbit holes, which go down other rabbit holes. Believe me.
So Mama J, So Mama J, thank you. And like as Lee said, we're not ignoring you, but there's so much info that comes in. So thank you for sending us that link.
Yeah, and in all seriousness, I do some weird shit when I'm tired. Marty, thank you. And now that you have my attention. No, you had my attention. Now you have my curiosity. I think that's a line from Django Unchained. Anyways, that was a classic. But anyways, I for some reason I remember lines of movies, and that was a line I remember very clearly. Anyways, you got my curiosity. We'll check that out for sure. Thank you. All right. Do we have anything else we want to talk about? It could be another case. It could not be another case. Sudafed. God, you sound terrible, dude. You sound terrible. You really do.
I can promise you one thing.
Yeah.
As bad as you think I sound, I promise you I feel worse.
Oh yeah, that's horrible, dude.
Yeah.
I will tell you, so I got a drone, right? And I got a drone pilot's license. I'd love to get a CI license as well. I'd love to get a private investigator, or PI license. I heard that's a pretty CI.
You don't want to get a CI license.
I do not want to get a CI license. That's a destiny right there. Anyways, so I was doing some testing with my drone, kind of trying to get better at flying, and I was trying to practice flying over a bridge. which my wife reminded me, maybe you should get some more experience with your drone before you fly it over water. Like, why are you constantly trying to fly your drone over water? So what I didn't realize is on that camera, which you're looking through a camera, high definition camera on the drone on your phone, which is a small screen. Guess what? You don't see real well. You don't see power lines and you don't see tree branches real well. It just kind of blends in with everything else. So if you didn't properly scope out where you're flying, you hit a tree like I did. And I hit a tree over a bridge, and it instantly stopped my drone midair and dropped it straight from the sky down to the ground, crashed onto the cement on the bridge, narrowly missing dumping into the water. I thought I had destroyed my drone. The drone did survive, but it was a lesson learned of I need a lot more experience hours with that drone, because those are expensive little toys to look. One time I fly it over somebody's fence line on private property and it runs out of battery or it can't come back because the wind direction changed and it doesn't have enough power to come back, and I drop it. I could lose it on somebody's private property and never get it back, or I can drop it in a creek and never get it back, or drop it, or like, it's easy to lose a really expensive toy. So I'm a little bit nervous flying that thing.
I think Twizzle wants to come up. I don't know if he wanted
to show the video that we've been talking about.
I don't know if it was that or it was about something with Cy Ray. I think.
Yeah, it's with Cy. He said he wants. Do you want to know? Before that, he said, "Do you want to know what Cy Ray told me?"
Oh yeah, I think I've heard some of that. Yeah, if you guys want to talk about it,
sure.
We can do that. Let's bring him up. Let's
I'll
roll the dice.
Back. Guys, I'll be right back.
Okay.
All right. Invite guest.
I put the link in the chat.
Okay.
T-Wizzle.
T-Wizzle
in the house.
The first time I met Twiz, I actually met him at the Koberger at the courthouse.
That's right. You met him.
Yeah, I met him.
Yeah.
And I didn't know who he was at the time. I had never seen him, and so this guy was on the grass, outside the courthouse waiting in line like me. And he's like, "Hey, aren't you Devil's Advocates?" And I'm like, "Oh, you know who I am?" And he's like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." And I was like, "That was weird." And then then people were like, "Well, yeah, that was Twiz." Like, "Oh, okay." Like, I never met the guy.
You sure you didn't think it was some Amish guy following the case first? That what you maybe thought first, because of that damn beard.
Right. And so anyways, it was kind of funny. And then I met a couple of other YouTubers there in line as well that I had not really known them. And so it was kind of a weird experience that day. But is he coming up? We sent the link out.
I don't know.
A couple minutes to get things registered and get it loaded when he does that.
Yeah. But anyways, yeah, that was and then
wait a minute. Again, give me the link. If it's in your chat, he might be in my chat. I might have to drop it in my side. So
okay.
Put that link in back chat real quick and I'll drop it over there. I just now thought of that.
Can he join from your side?
Yeah. As long as
he's in.
Yeah, this is the same as a URL link.
He's in, Robin.
No,
he's on screen. He's on screen right now.
He probably just bounced over.
What's up?
Hey.
He was
dream.
I'm getting my earbuds. I don't know if you guys can hear yourselves
we can
through
hear
speakers.
Yeah.
No, I don't hear an echo.
You don't? Perfect.
No.
Because I don't have my mic with me, so I'm just on my laptop.
Yeah, you sound fine.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
If you guys want a little presentation, I can tell you what Cy Ray told me, and I can show you how it's 100% possible that Brian Koberger was not in Moscow that night.
Yeah, and if you don't mind, if you can do so, kind of give us a summary of how you got to have that private conversation or personal conversation with Cy Ray, and then tell us what he told you.
Yeah, I could do that. Give me 1 second. Let me get ready here.
All right.
But I was at the hearing when he was on the stand, and I just asked him after the hearing about a tower because I was trying to figure out how all this cell stuff works. And I'll show you the tower I was referring to.
Yeah. If you put it on the assets backstage. If you know how to do that, I'll put it on screen for us. Or is he on your side, and you're bringing him through, or is he on our side?
I'm just getting it all set up here.
Okay. All right.
He's on your side.
Okay.
Either way, it won't matter. As long as he's up here, he can run it all through his thing the same way. So,
all right, it's sharing. So if you want to grab it,
all right, give it a second.
there you go.
This, add this. All right.
All right, so this was my original tower that I thought they might use, because up here is Pullman, over here is Moscow. And my theory was that you could connect over here on the Washington side and they could say that you're on the Idaho side, right? Because he utilized cellular resources that provided coverage through an area.
That clever wording. Right.
Yeah. Right. So he looked at me and said, you know that tower has nothing to do with this, right? And I was like, no, I didn't know that. But essentially, he told me that Brian was far south of Moscow that night, and there was no other cellular expert that could argue that with him. Right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you know the little map in the PCA that says, Brian's trip from Moscow that night.
He went through Genesee and then down through
Wallway
Park. Yeah.
Do you know what they based that information on?
No, please tell me.
Well, if you watch the hearing, Lee, they asked Brett Payne, and they said it's based off of his cellular records,
right?
Which one of them would be a call detail record, and these call detail records are kind of funny, and this is kind of a side tangent, but they kind of tell you like when people call and text each other, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So like it's kind of hard for Moscow to lie about when calls and texts are made, if you understand what I'm talking about.
Sure.
Right, side tangent. But anyway, so they based it off of his cell phone record, right? So every time you like call and text somebody, it'll put down, the time, blah, blah, blah. But most importantly for this presentation is the cell phone tower you connected to, right?
Okay.
So all they had that night for Brian was which towers that he was connecting to, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And they drew that map based on the tower coverages, right?
All right.
So the tower has to cover this little area over here and then down back towards Pullman, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So here's one tower that covers south of Moscow, and it covers down way down here past Lewiston, right?
Yep.
And then the other
it almost doesn't touch any of Clarkston either. It's just all Lewiston side, unless that's.
Oh yeah, there's a tower underneath this one, which is hard to grab now sometimes.
Lucy's adding to that, saying that what he's saying is if you're not calling or texting someone, that there's no record.
Like it's not checking in with the service or the tower.
Right.
No, it just doesn't. It doesn't leave a record on your call detail records.
Gotcha, okay.
So this is the Clarkston Tower. It covers, I think it's 195 on Washington. I can't ever remember. But like they had him on leaving Moscow down here. I hope you guys can see my mouse, and then crossing over and then going back up to Pullman this way, right?
Yes.
So that would cover that portion. And then nope, not that one. It's been a while since I've been on this website, so I don't remember exactly where everything. There we go. This is the Lewiston Tower. It covers all the way up to Moscow, and it actually covered the house.
Wow.
So you could be in Lewiston and utilize cellular resources that provide coverage to 1122 King Road, which was right here.
And that is so fucking far away too.
Wow.
All right, now you guys want to see the magic?
Yeah.
Yes.
And I'm just going to do this one. Hopefully you guys can get it. So this map shows the route, like it shows the tower coverages from Moscow. That's a terrible snip. Let me redo it. It's hard on the small screen. I did it before on my bigger screen. Let me do this, see if we can get it better. All right. All right, I'm gonna have to stop sharing and then reshare something else.
Yeah, no worries, no worries. But yeah, and while you're looking it up, I mean, that's it sounds like where you're driving to is the same thing that they've been doing with everything, which is clever trickery with the wording that leads a person to believe it's saying something that it's not saying. And it leads you to come to a conclusion that they didn't say. And in fact, what they would do is they'd cover their ass. Well, we didn't say he did this or that. You implied that, and they knew you were going to imply that. That's why they worded it that way. But,
yep. Words matter.
Word salad all the way around.
Yep. That's crazy.
The biggest part, Twiz, that you're saying that is the biggest shocker. And again, you know, I don't know you well enough to know, you know, anything about you really. But when you say Cy Ray himself is saying Brian Koberger was never in Moscow, that's a big deal. Like if Cy Ray didn't believe Brian Koberger went to Moscow, and that he would have testified something, that was the $1 million question. As you're looking this up, the $1 million question was, I always said Cy Ray didn't seem to say he was going to come out and provide an alibi for Koberger. He was simply, it seemed to me, all he was really saying was, I know what you're telling me that you have and don't have is a lie, because I know you do have the timing advance records and I can prove it. I've seen how you got it. I know you have it and you're lying about it. But it wasn't necessarily saying, and that means Koberger didn't do it. He was just, I think he was just going to say the map that you created, that Balance created is you couldn't have created that map without having detail or information that you say you don't have. That's how you create it.
But that information is enough that he would have given to make you look at Brian in a different situation. You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
That's 100%. And when it was explained to me, even though Twist said I didn't pay enough attention in class, which he's probably right because I had too much other shit going on. But he's right. You know what I mean? That's absolutely right. And that's the thing. That's they would not. I think Hitler knew that too, because that's why he would not allow him to say a fucking word. And that's
right. And that's why Ashley Jennings didn't want anyone else to know that there were 3 towers versus just the 2.
Are you ready for this to go back on stage, Twiz, or not?
Yeah. All right. So this is the route that Payne said Brian possibly took that night. I'm trying to make it a little bigger here.
Are you serious, Lucy? Did that really happen, Twiz?
What?
Gilters called Judge and reported Cy for talking to you?
Yep.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah, you didn't know that?
No, I didn't know that. No. Oh my God, bro. Come on.
Yeah, me and Cy were reported. I think he was on lawn at CrimeCon or something when he told me that. But it was hilarious because there was a hearing the day before and I waved at Judge in the parking lot and he gave me this really weird wave.
Right.
And then the next day, Cy said that we were in trouble.
And what's funny about that, Twiz, is I saw an interview where Cy Ray, I can't remember who he was talking about. Cy Ray was on a YouTube video and he mentioned you and he said, like, you weren't there on the recording, but he said, yeah, Twiz, don't get me in trouble again. You got me in trouble.
Right.
Yep.
That's insane.
This is why. All right. But you see that little red route? I'm not going to make it perfect because this is hard on this small screen, but that's like basically the route that Payne claimed Brian took that night, right?
Right.
Okay. This is the route out of Wawawai Park through Lewiston. There's two ways in and out of Wawawai Park. One's driving through Pullman, the other one's driving through Lewiston. Do you see how the towers cover both routes?
Yes.
I don't see the second. I see the only one tower selected, I thought.
Well, I mean, again, I could redraw this again if you want, but you know how like there's two towers that cover this area, and then there's another tower that covers the Washington side, right?
I see, yes.
So just imagine it.
Yeah.
But do you see how the towers cover both routes?
Yeah, yeah.
So when they're saying that he was going through Moscow, even though they don't have any camera footage, they can't place him in Moscow, nothing. They just said he's using the towers leaving Moscow. Or he was using the towers leaving the park, like they said.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Now, the thing with AT&T is they have this thing called Nilos and Lokbor. And I'm not an expert on that by any means, but Sai on his channel has an episode where they're tracking somebody using Nilos. Lokbor is like the newer version, updated, so there's going to be some differences. I don't know exactly what they are. But in that episode, he talks about how when you drive into service, Nilos will turn on your GPS and ping you. So AT&T kind of knows where you are. And again, what Sai told me was that he knew for a fact that Brian Koberger was far south of Moscow that night, and there's no other cellular expert that could argue with him.
And so I get that. So how is it that Sai Ray is still gagged today and can't talk about it? Like why can't he tell people those things? Why is he still gagged?
Yeah, that's a great question. That would be a Hitler sucks conversation, I guess.
Yeah, pretty much.
I don't know. That's what I'm waiting for is size stuff.
I started to look into it, by the way. I started to look into it, the avenues and I can't remember the details. There's avenues that could be pursued to allow Sai Ray to talk about it, but it can't come from the public. It has to come from, I can't remember who it was, some entity, some business entity or something like that. Like maybe AT&T would have to do it. Like somebody can compel Sai Ray to basically be able to speak against the gag order, but it can't come from us. So I can't remember what the technicality was, but it was one of those things like, well, shit. I mean, it'd be nice if somebody could get his gag order lifted or compel Hitler to let him talk, but it can't come from the public. It's got to come from somebody with a vested interest somehow in the case, and it's
like the Innocence Project or something like that.
No, it was something like law enforcement would have to ask for it, or AT&T would have to ask for it, but not just, it would have to have somebody with a vested financial interest of some kind in order to get him to break the gag order. And it couldn't just be in the interest of public knowledge. It would have to be somebody with a vested interest in him giving that information up.
I don't know. I mean, as far as I've heard, he told Lana that he's just waiting for his stuff to be ungagged. And
that's what she told me too, that he wants to speak on it, which I can't imagine he wouldn't after what dipshit did, that he wants to speak on it, but wants to make sure that he's got all his bases covered, that he's completely ungagged, so that way they can't come back at him with any kind of repercussions for anything he says or does.
Yeah. He does work for the Justice Department now, though, so.
Yeah. And that could put a little damper on some things, too.
Sure.
Even though he can't tell when Moscow lies about when calls and texts are made, though. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what? And the working for the Justice Department thing bugs me again, because if you know, I'm gonna just, maybe I'm wrong, but if you know somebody's going to be compelled to testify, you just employ them, and you'd be like, now you can't testify because you work for us and you can't. Like you just beat you beat him to the punch. You're like, well this guy's going to be.
I don't think he works direct. I think it's more of a contracted thing. Like he's hired on to teach class.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
On like the cell phone stuff. So I bet it's more through his LLC or whatever than like he's actually working for DOJ.
Yeah, as long as.
But that means he has DOJ contacts, so I think it's a good thing.
Yeah. Okay. Well, good. That's good. I mean, I hope so too. I hope, because again, to me, I don't know if people would see it this way, but to me, you're close. If Cy Ray were able to say, I can guarantee you his phone. See, here's the thing. I don't think you can guarantee Kohberger. You could maybe guarantee his phone wasn't in Moscow. So
no one has argued that his phone, his car, and himself were not together all night.
Yeah. So
it has not been argued.
Right. So what I'm saying is, if he could say something like that, that's close to what I've said all along. The appeal is null and void if he could not have physically done the crime. Like you can say you did it, but if it's proven you could not have done it because you were in Lewiston, Idaho at the time, then it's off. The plea deal is off. Like that is one of the loopholes that it doesn't matter if you waived your right to appeal. If you could not have done the crime because it's proven you were somewhere else when the crime happened, then it's off.
Yeah, the timing on that's actually pretty interesting because, his phone was off or not connecting to the towers. I don't know which way you drove down to Wobowai, but if you drive from Lewiston to Wobowai, there's hardly any cell phone service. But they would basically try to argue that Brian raced down to Lewiston so fast that it would look like he couldn't have got there in time.
Like Joe and I drove the route.
Yeah, you went
Joe
there.
and I drove the route that we thought he drove. Which so if you were okay, how do I explain it? So
I would assume that he drove from Pullman to Wobowai, then he drove from Wobowai to Lewiston, and then back to Pullman.
So I would disagree with only this, Twiz. Let me try to break this logic. I think he went to Wawa. So like the morning after, for example, maybe we're talking about two different times. The morning after, they said he went down to Clarkston, right? And he went.
Yeah, I'm not talking about that.
Right, but what I'm saying is that route would be Pullman to Wawaway Park, Wawaway to the Snake River, and along the Snake River down to cross the bridge into Clarkston. And then you could cross the bridge over into Lewiston and back up that way to Moscow. But I don't know that they've ever alleged that he did that night. Like
No, you don't actually have to cross the bridge.
You don't. Yes, you could. You're right. You could stay on the other side of the river or the side that you're on. Yeah.
That road you don't have to cross the bridge for, but if you went into Clarkston, you would have to.
Right.
But I mean, if it's true that he went to the park, which I think it is 100%. I think that's what happened. Like he wouldn't have cell phone coverage, and then leaving, he just made a big loop. He went from Pullman to the park, and then from the park to Lewiston and back up to Pullman. He's nowhere near Moscow that night.
You drove it. You drove it too, didn't you, Twiz, and timed it and all that?
Yeah.
That's what I thought. I was just making sure I was right.
Yeah, and Joe and I and I can tell you this: when Joe and I drove it, there was no cell coverage from Wawaway Park, and probably well before that, all the way to practically right when you get into Pullman. Like it literally, there was no coverage until you got. So the idea that Kohberger left Pullman and then lost cell service, that's about what we saw coming in. We didn't do it on the reverse way, but we came
if you're following the PCA's timeline, that's not his car that they're talking about at all. So he had to. I think that he left Pullman a few minutes before they were claiming.
No, I believe that I agree with you. I think they're looking at the two-door with the tinted windows and fucking fog lights that his car doesn't have.
Yeah,
that's what I think they're looking at.
Is the two-door the one with the fog lights too?
Yes.
Yeah, those guys are idiots. But I mean, like they weren't trying to investigate. They weren't trying to actually find who did this.
No,
that's why they use wording like that's why they kept using. This is what I'm telling. They fucked with people with the wording. That's why they used wording consistent with.
Yes,
they love that wording. A vehicle that was consistent with suspect vehicle one doesn't mean it is suspect vehicle one. It's just consistent with suspect vehicle. They know that it wasn't the same car. Yeah.
Yes, the biggest bowl of word salad I've ever seen in my damn life. Every bit of it. But yeah, that two-door had tinted windows, fog lights. Everything else looked the same, but it was a definite two-door, fog lights, tinted windows, and there was more. From my understanding, there was a statement put out there that they saw more than one person inside that car.
Well, yeah, the original Bolo said person or persons in that white Elantra.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
We need to speak to you.
Yep.
So
and
there
this
again.
Is why, yeah. And this is why when I said my first video, and again, I'm not saying I'm still on this, but that's why I said in my first video, no one ever saw the driver in the suspect vehicle 1. You never saw the driver, and therefore also never saw how many occupants were in the car. So if you go along with the idea that multiple perpetrators may have done the event, you don't know that car didn't have a group of 4 guys sitting in the car and they all got out together, or 2 guys or 3 guys. Like, you literally don't have any image that shows the driver and or occupants to know how many people were in the car.
And I'll be honest with you, Lee, if you look back and go back, here's my opinion at least, okay? They know who's in that 2-door car, okay?
Yep.
They know exactly who's in that car, in my opinion, okay? And I think that they know exactly, like, where it was, when it was, all that kind of shit. And at this point, it's almost like they mapped it out on purpose the way they did, okay?
I don't think they care about that white car. They were trying to pin it on Brian.
Right, but
they don't need to know who's in that car.
I don't. Well, no, I
they
agree
might know who did it, but I'm just like, they might know who drove. I'm just saying, like, they don't need to. It was used to pin blame on Brian.
Right. And
Right.
you probably have heard. I know, Twiz, you're in our chats quite a bit. You may have heard me say this, but I did a FOIA request with the FBI on the expert that identified the 2011 to 13 Elantra and how they then changed it to 2015, and whether that they had any discussions in their records about the fog lights. And the letter that came back from the FBI was essentially, we can confirm we have the information you're requesting, but we won't give it to you because it falls under these following exemptions.
Let me ask you guys, this is why I brought that up, Twiz, what I just said about them knowing the car and who's in it. Let me ask you, let me throw something at you guys and see if this sticks. Okay. I've been thinking about this ever since this 2-door car popped up again. What if, and the reason why I'm saying this, they do know who's in that car. They have known who's in that car from day one. Okay. And the whole purpose of them pointing out, okay, I can't remember the exact days right now, because like I said, I can't remember my middle name. But the whole thing with when WSU found Brian's car, and then there was that little bit of a time limit that they waited and all that kind of shit. I'm wondering if they looked around to find another car that would match up with this and match this. Okay. And it ended up being Brian. And that would explain how and why Brian got brought into the mix, period. End of story. And that's how they had to do this, to blame this on somebody else. That's what I was trying to say, if that came out right.
Let me try to reiterate what I think you're trying to say. Is if Brian did go for a drive that night, and also the killers went for a drive that night, and it wasn't the 2 same people, if they were like, hey, look, as long as we can get a car that's out for a drive relatively at the same point, we can just shift it to that car. you know?
I mean, that's pretty much what I'm and it just so happens to be this out-of-state kid that fits the profile that they wanted to have in some aspect, you know what I mean? And then they used all the other shit that came out. Yes. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
kind
now-
of
you also got the Cellbrite idiots who they said that he took a picture. There's a picture that apparently he took, but they were like, "Oh, but that could be because obviously, if your phone is off, your phone is off, you can't take a picture if your phone is off. So that's what they're saying. Oh, the phone. The picture is
hold on. Let me play devil's advocate. Could you not turn your phone into airplane mode, for example, and still utilize the camera on the phone? So the phone could be turned on and still not have connection to cellular services. It would still let you take a picture remotely to your phone
the Cellbrite is saying the phone was turned off.
Yeah, but they're saying the phone was off. Therefore, the picture is fake. That
they're full of
correct.
shit.
Yeah, if the phone,
that's what they're saying. They're double.
Well, I don't think anyone has said he took a picture that night.
Yeah, somebody said that there. Yeah, I don't know if they said it was him, but didn't somebody say there was a picture of a meteor or something like that was taken on a phone?
There was a meteor shower.
Yeah,
Celebrate. They said that there was a photo, but they didn't. They kind of like just dismissed it because there's no way he could take the photo if his phone was off.
Oh, so there's.
If you want to look at that picture, have an astronomer.
Right. You could recreate whether that.
And they're going to be Right.
There
We're
was
gonna be
a
able to look at that.
there was a
determine
shower
whether
that
that
night.
picture is fake
But we
or not.
haven't. But
Yeah.
they haven't shown us. We haven't seen this photo.
Yeah,
So.
we have
Well,
photos
there
of
is
you.
an interesting thing because I've heard that there's actually no way for Celebrite to know that if your phone is switched off. Like nothing says your phone is switched off.
Yeah,
On
if
Celebrite.
you have an
Well,
Android phone, if you have an
yeah.
Android phone, right? It doesn't. There's no. That isn't recording data for the phone was switched off, kind of thing, is what people have said.
And then they go as far as saying that we could see him turn the button off.
Right. No. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, I'm not buying it. I think that they just want his phone to be off.
Yes.
They change everything. This is the thing that's like they're gonna know what they can lie about and what they can't lie about. And I'm sorry, cell phone calls and text messages, you ain't lying about.
Yeah, that's why they're not going to ungag Psy.
Let's talk for a minute about the celestial event. Right, there's a meteor shower. I've heard this before, and they mocked. The media mocked the idea that, oh yeah, Brian Koberger's out stargazing that night. You're an idiot. It was cloudy. We watched. First of all, you can kiss my ass, because I've gone out to look for celestial events on a cloudy night, figuring, well, maybe I'll get a break in the cloud. So the idea that because it might have been overcast that night proves that he couldn't have been out. You don't know that. Maybe he thought he was going to go to a place where he could have a break in the clouds to watch it. If there was actually a celestial event, maybe he was going out to look at a celestial event.
Oh, here's a really funny thing. One time when I drove out to Wawa in the middle of the night, it said it was cloudy out, and down there I could see every single star in the sky.
That's what I'm saying. Right. What you just said is what I'm saying. Certain areas are known to be less foggy or less whatever. If he went to a place to stargaze, for example, that he knew would have a break in the clouds, even on a cloudy night, that could have been why he picked that location if he did.
The rumor is that supposedly was announced at WSU, and they gave people, I can't remember what department it was, options where they could go see this in this area. So they're in turn.
One of them Wallway Park.
That's what I'm saying. That's the whole point right there. They're not going to tell you that though.
Right.
No, I mean, it was said to be his favorite spot to go visit, and there's a history of him going there and taking pictures.
Yep.
From what I heard, there just wasn't pictures taken that night.
Yeah, just like this picture that he never took before in his life until the day after he killed people, right?
Right. And like the funny thing now is that everyone's talking about how, Xana fought back specifically, and then at his doctor's appointment, he has no marks on him. And in that picture, he has no marks in him.
Nope.
Nothing.
Well, who's she fighting? Because it wasn't Brian.
And you see him go to Costco, right? If you try to look in and zoom, he's got
Walmart.
He's got nothing. He's got not one mark on him.
It's funny because it's funny. Look at the narrative. People zoomed in on that photo to say the opposite. Oh, you can see a little tiny cut on a knuckle on his hand. So therefore, and Brian Koberger was seen wearing gloves afterwards. And so he was trying to cover up the injuries. Like, even with everybody saying you don't see any cuts on his hands in the thumbs up picture, somebody came out and said, oh yeah, if you zoom in really close, you can see a little tiny cut on a knuckle. So there's proof he killed people. And
if he had a cut on his knuckle, it's because his hands were dried out and bloody from overwashing them, because that's what he does.
Right.
Or maybe his hands were just cold.
Right. Yeah. Right. Dry and cold.
Because your hands kind of turn white when they're cold.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And it was too. Don't forget
28 that night. I don't know how much it was during the day, but it wasn't warm.
Yeah.
He also
the whole thing's just ridiculous.
He went and got a haircut too. So if he had any marks on his head, okay, or his
let's
face,
talk.
That guy was up in his face. The barber cutting his hair was in his face, and would have seen all that. And if they didn't question this guy, the doctor, the barber, or anybody else, then they're complete total quacks. Just saying.
Right. Since we have Twiz on here, and Twiz is kind of focused on the cell phone stuff, I want to take this moment to talk as a panel and with Twiz here about the 7 minutes discrepancy. Right. So again, the wording was cleverly stated, as I understand it. Brian Koberger's 854 or whatever fucking phone lost connection to the tower at such and such time. And Ann Taylor and Cy Ray together, it seemed like we're going to say, no, It was actually 7 minutes off from that. And as she said in a court thing I saw, the 7 minutes matter. That 7 minutes that you're trying to lie about when the phone lost connection matters. And I thought they were going to say, if you looked at the timing advance records, you would see the direction of travel is away from Pullman towards Wawa Park. And it seemed like they even, and I'm almost done shutting up. It seemed like they even conceded the prosecution. Well, even if you could prove that, it doesn't mean that he couldn't have flipped around in the road and come back. That was their argument, because they were basically almost kind of conceding, yes, we lied about the 7 minutes. We know he was going the other direction, but that doesn't mean he couldn't have flipped around somewhere. You guys want to comment on that?
No, that's absolutely what they were doing. And they did lie about when his phone stopped reporting to the network.
Yep.
This is what happened. I believe it was he was using data, which does show up on the CDRs as well. So like CDRs, there's several levels of them when you're getting warrants for them. Like the basic CDR doesn't show data, but like a higher up warrant does, is how Cy explained it to me.
Right.
Or explained it to us, because it's on one of his lives on YouTube. But they just used that when the data started. It was like the last file before it stopped reporting to the network, right? But they went from the start time, not the end time. So the data session ended 7 minutes later, but they said that it ended when it started.
And the reason why, if I'm understanding it, the reason why is because the start of it puts him closer to not having left Pullman. But I
don't think it had anything to do with the cell phone towers. I think they were trying to, because they were tracking that in the PCA, they're tracking that car on WSU and claiming that it drove to Moscow, right? Well, here's the other issue. There's a camera at that intersection with Bishop Boulevard and the Moscow Pullman Highway, but they don't have him on that camera. So there's no way he could have driven straight to Moscow right there like they were claiming. They said he was going down Stadium Way, took a left to head to Moscow, but he's not on that camera. The whole thing was a fucking joke.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You know, have we ever tried, or you tried, Twiz, or anybody, to go at a certain time and drive a certain route and then public records request your own car on camera and say, can you please provide this camera from this time, and see what they've got on yourself driving through to see what they come up with? I'd be curious to see that experience.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, it is.
I know that if I drive to Moscow, you can watch me on the cameras because they have live feeds, but the cameras here are WSU, so I don't really know if you could public records request them like that. You probably could, because technically it's a public entity.
I did public records request all the camera footage from WSU, and they gave it to me. So I know that they responded to it. Now I don't know if they responded to it only because it was part of a police investigation, or whether it's something you can always get.
Yeah, I mean, they're not going to save them forever. You could do that. I don't want the whole world to know what kind of car I drive, but
right. I'll borrow my wife's car. She can get taken
for sure. Yeah, if you want to come up here. Well, I mean, I can just drive through. I do drive through campus fairly often, but
I drove.
I definitely wouldn't put that footage out.
Right. Yeah. Joe and I came up there and we drove to, Pimlico Apartments. We drove, since you're on the phone again, and you know that area very well. So we went up to Pimlico and Steptoe and SEL campus. And I was stunned at how close, you could literally throw a rock from the Steptoe apartment parking lot to Pimlico Apartments. And the only reason why that mattered to me was the statement that Kopacka had made, that he gave officers one time in that June video footage, that he lived at the Pimlico Apartments. And I was like, holy shit, it's literally across a patch of grass and a little bit of a road, and there's the Pimlico Apartments.
Yeah, it's right there. If you go on my channel at the posts I make, I have a few sunset pictures, and it's literally from the grass in Steptoe, and you can see the top of Pimlico Apartments in it.
Yeah, it's super close.
But I do hate to burst your bubble. Brian Koberger said he didn't know Kopacka, so.
I don't know if that burst my bubble. I don't know if that burst my bubble at all. I appreciate that.
You theorized it. But the person that I know that talks to Brian said that they asked him, and he said no. So.
Yeah, fair enough. All right. Well, hey, thank you for coming on the show. I usually only go about 2 hours, and we're kind of at that point.
I know we're past your bedtime.
I know. Fuck yeah, I am. Like I was up like super late last night. So thank you, Twiz, for coming on and sharing your cell phone data and your knowledge and your experience with Ray and the conversations. And yeah, I can verify for anybody that heard this story, I can verify watching Ray bitch about Twiz getting him in trouble for their conversation. So that
yeah. So all those people that say we never talked, Ray said it. I don't know.
Yep, I saw it. All right.
I'll talk to you guys later.
All right,
thanks, Twiz.
I think tonight's one night that I'm not going to argue with you about quitting. So
I get it. Somebody stick a fork in you, you're done.
That was yesterday, but I don't even know where I'm at right now.
Yeah. All right. Well, then let's be brief. Let's get Dago the first chance to say goodnight, and he can duck out early if he wants, or you can stay through the close. We'll go Dago, JJ, 1-1, Robin, and then myself for the close. So Dago, what do you got for closing?
Thank you guys for being here again tonight. My apologies that I'm like The Walking Dead, but it is what it is. Hopefully every day it gets better and I'll be back to normal soon. Appreciate you guys all showing up as always and supporting our channels the way you do. Again, guys, if it weren't for you, none of us would be here. So thank you. And don't forget, folks, to love yourselves and love each other and don't change nothing. You guys are amazing and we love you all. Have a wonderful night, folks.
And if you love yourself, don't do it on camera. Keep that shit private. But there you go. What do you got, JJ?
Yeah, I mean, I think with this case, you know, as I always say, there obviously is a cover-up of some kind. I don't think that anybody who's followed the case can research has done any research into this case and come away with anything other than on some level there is a cover-up. So the question is, was it the university that is trying to keep things from the public, or was it law enforcement, whether it be local or one of the task forces that was in the area? I think that, to me, is a question that I keep asking. What are they trying to, or were they trying to keep from getting out to the public? And that Brian was either inserted into the case wittingly, or he was taken into the case as a patsy. And in my opinion, that is what I believe. I don't think my gut feeling is that he could be peripherally involved, but my gut feeling is that he's not.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. And look, I would say this: if Ray believes Brian Kohberger was not there in Moscow that night, then I am convinced Brian Kohberger didn't do it. Because I mean, if Ray, the expert, said, I can tell you he wasn't there that night, then that'll be good enough for me to say, well, then fucking we can stop talking about Kohberger, who did it. but right. You know, I'm going on third party hearsay. I'm going on, and I'm not saying I'm questioning Twiz's thing. I'm just saying I'm hearing that from Twiz, who heard it from Cy. I didn't hear it from Cy. I don't know the facts. I don't know the exact wording. So I'm going to couch that a little bit. But if it comes out that Ray says, I guarantee you Brian Kohberger was in Lewiston at the time of the murders and he wasn't there, then I'll be like, well, then we got some problems, you know? So yeah, it's interesting. 1-1, what do you got?
Great show, great discussion. Thanks, JJ, Dago. Hope you feel better. Robin, Lee, denizens, meatballs, mods. Thanks to all you great mods out there from all of us, Amanda, Penny, Essie, whoever's there. Just a little words of wisdom that I have for you guys before you listen to any of Lee's videos. Make sure you're not driving. Be grounded. That's what I got for you tonight.
That's funny shit. Thank you very much, and I'm glad that you're safe. Don't drive and listen to DA. That's probably a bad thing. Robin, what do you got?
Well, once again, this has been just amazing conversation, and these conversations are so extremely important. We have to keep asking these hard questions, even in the face of criticism and kind of adversity. and to keep the dialogue open around theories while still using as much fact as we possibly can, because we shouldn't have to wonder if the man that is sitting in jail is the perpetrator of these horrendous crimes, or if he's the only perpetrator of these crimes. We should know that before he was put in jail. There should have been a trial, and it's really sticking in my craw. You know, you said it earlier, Lee, about the whole grand jury thing. That should not even be a thing anymore, because that's like having a trial without even having the defense there, and I don't understand that at all. So we have to keep pushing, folks. Thanks to each and every one of you for coming out. We, you know, Dago's so right. We can't do this without each and every one of you, whether you watch live or on the replay crew. So thank you all, one and all, for, you know, supporting us like you do.
I appreciate that very much. And I think as a, you know, to play devil's advocates with why is the grand jury system in place? I think it's designed, supposedly, the way it was, I think it was intended to work, was it was going to be a check to make sure that we didn't needlessly waste taxpayers' money going after people in which the evidence is flimsy. And so they wanted to be able to have somebody to go, let's at least have the taxpayers who have a vested interest in paying the bill for this crime or this trial to say that, yes, we want our tax dollars going to prosecute that trial. The problem is, in reality, grand juries will indict a ham sandwich. It's a one-sided presentation by the prosecution only. They tell the best case that makes anybody believe, of course, that you've got the bad guy and that it's worth going after. So it's a pointless exercise. It doesn't, in my opinion, it doesn't provide the safety valve I think that it was supposed to, of proving that it was worth going to trial, because they're always going to prove that it's worth going into trial. It would be extremely rare circumstances in which a grand jury said, you know what, your evidence is so shitty, you can't even convince us one-sided argument that you got enough to go forward. That would be a rare thing, I think. And in that regards, I think the grand jury system should be revised or eliminated, because it leads people in America who are sheeple and don't think to think, oh, that must mean something. If a grand jury said they're guilty, they must be guilty. No, first of all, the grand jury didn't say they were guilty. The grand jury just said you have enough evidence to proceed to trial. But for a lot of people, that means you must have something bad on you, without factoring in that the defense never even got a chance to present any information in that grand jury that would have made a person say, maybe you don't have enough shit to go to trial. So thanks for listening. I hope you guys got something out of it. One of the things we try to do with this channel is educate you on things like that. What is a grand jury? What is a petite jury? What is a magistrate? What is a trial judge? What is an appellate judge? We try to talk about all those little things. Why is it the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania and the state of Washington? What's the difference between a state and a Commonwealth? All those little trivia things come up a lot in our show as well. We try to educate you as well as entertain you and make you spew coffee out of your nose while you're driving down a street in New York. So thanks for watching the show. Have a good night, everybody. See you again next time at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.